Today, I'm joined by the wellness team and a special guest called Rasha Salib. Rasha Salib is a licensed clinical psychologist and a licensed marriage and family therapist. Rasha has received her bachelorette degree from the University of Toronto and her master's degrees in clinical psychology and marriage and family therapy at the Pepperdine University. During the COVID-19 pandemic, all of us have faced challenges, and it's been very challenging for young people. What essential characteristics of adolescence and how has the virus threatened youth's development and their well-being?
Yeah, so I guess I can start. Basically, from the work I have done and from the research I have read, one of the biggest factors that changed is the homeschooling part. So, online learning to most people, that was very foreign to them. Having to stay at home in front of their screens for longer periods of time, not having the one-on-one engagement with their professors or their teachers. And most importantly, in my opinion, is not being in a classroom with other students and interacting with their friends. So there's a lot more isolation, more inhibition, so I've been hearing a lot from students, like even when they socialize, it's like they don't know what to talk about. They don't know how to socialize. And I think me as an adult, I can relate to that to a great extent, but it definitely called for a lot of creativity as well. What I have seen a lot is the growth in people's resilience and the waves, so there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of like, we're going to cope, we're going to make it, and a lot of losses that happened along the way, a lot of anxiety that has been intensified and increasing. So there's a lot of adjustment issues. And there's a rise in suicidality and suicidal thinking and self-harm behavior. And a lot of the activities that we're used to, like especially outdoor activities or community-based activities. So this is very unfamiliar to us, like, being behind screens and not seeing our friends. So it's definitely a lot of adjustment, and a lot of people have grown closer to each other, but it came with a lot of challenges as well.
Thank you. So many young people have faced stresses, traumas, and some lost their beloved ones, and some feel anxious of losing their loved ones. So, how can we help them cope at this time?
Yeah, I think one of the major things that I do recommend for people to realize is just normalizing that process, that we are living during unprecedented times, and it's not something that is typical, it's out of the ordinary, and the virus itself is very invisible to us. So we don't really know, like there's a threat, but we don't really see it. So yes, people's anxiety has been on the rise. There's a lot of grief issues, a lot of fear, anticipatory grief, worrying about someone dying and losing people. So I think the first step is to validate and normalize that process. But also the other part of that is to look into what exactly is causing my anxiety. What am I worried about, and how realistic are my fears? Because sometimes with anxiety is when it goes beyond the normal level. So it becomes to the point where a person is not able to function and not able to cope because it's too extreme. So I think part of it is to break things down, to problem solve, to really describe what is the problem that I'm facing, what are some possible solutions, what can I try, asking for help, setting boundaries with other people, socializing when you need to. So a lot of the adaptive coping skills, obviously in terms of the physical wellness, taking care of your sleep hygiene, taking care of your, food habit, and taking care of your social elements. But also in terms of like your thinking, encouraging yourself, taking breaks throughout the day, reflecting, writing, journaling, surrounding yourself with positive people, and really staying away from unhealthy coping mechanisms, smoking, drinking, substance use, engaging in disordered eating patterns that will only make the problem worse and add to the shame that people are feeling. And I think what is very important is to really assess where you are and to ask for help, because we're not expected to know how to behave during this time.
I realized you also talked about the social life. How can social media play like a big role, and can it play a role in a positive or negative way?
It can be used in a negative way in terms of catastrophizing the scenario and really like showing one element or one perspective of what's really going on. The point where I think it could be helpful is in terms of creating a community. Like, a lot of people are struggling, we're all in this together. Usually people want to put messages, they want to relay messages to the public, and some of the messages might be accurate and healthy, but some of them might be skewed and unrealistic, you know. And sometimes people can start the process of comparing and despairing. So if they see a picture of a friend who's doing super well in Corona times, we start comparing ourselves to them. So this is how it could be harmful. I think it's how you use social media and what messages you extract from it, because the pictures that you see have a story, and it's just you're taking a snapshot of that person's life instead of really what the person is going through. It could be helpful in the sense of if people are sharing their struggles in the sense of a support group, or they feel validated, like, oh, it's not just me, this person is doing the same. Or it could be used for encouraging reasons, like a lot of people started baking and they started reading books or sharing activities that they've been doing during Corona times, or taking pictures on their walk, and you're like, this tree, like, do we actually have these trees in Jordan? I want to take that walk. So this is how it could be positive, to encourage other people to join, as long as like they're socially distant walks and whatever. But I think it's very important to be mindful how we use social media with or without COVID. And this is something I always, warn parents about, like the time on social media needs to be limited, and there needs to be a lot of discussion with your children about what they're seeing and what are they feeling when they see these influencers or these people. Yeah.
So the wellness team helped the people who are in quarantine by doing a care team. In that care team, you made like a couple of things that we could enjoy. What other things can we do to the public to make them enjoy quarantine and not make it miserably?
هلا CARE program, I like to go back to what the initials mean. K.A.R.E is for King's Academy Resiliency Efforts. Because we knew since the beginning of the year, although we didn't know how the year will unfold, we really knew it needed a lot of effort, and it needed a lot of effort in terms of resiliency. King's Academy, KA, stands for us being a community in it. So everything else becomes secondary. So the package is secondary, but it's a way to bring us together through the packages we gave you, the activities, the session, the Zoom sessions. So the program or the details of it was varied and creative and rich, but at the core of it, the attempt is an attempt to bring a community together despite walls, literally walls, and despite isolation and despite unpredictability. When we prepared the care packages, we didn't know where they will be sent. Physically, we didn't know where they will be sent, but we knew no matter what, they will be needed. I do feel it's not just a skill-based program needed only throughout the pandemic, but the pandemic made our program not only a proactive program in terms of we're teaching you for what life has for you. No, we were actually teaching you about resilience, why you were in very hard positions yourself as very young minds. So on this note, I'm going to say abda'tu for all the young people who went through so many things this year. Alhamtuna.
I think, Lias, you asked one other part of the question when you said, and what can we do now? I think a lot of these things that we try to inspire you during this season can also be still instilled, like different sport activities or like movie nights or having a Netflix watch party. I don't know, like figuring out a new recipe and baking all together until this time is done and we can move on to the next phase of, having freedom and going out and coming. Just keep reminding yourself of the little things that you can do to keep yourself, busy and intact with other people.
Thank you. A lot of people have gained good habits and bad habits during the pandemic. And what are some like alarming symptoms that we need to seek professional help for?
I mean, these are, regardless COVID or not COVID, these are definitely alarming signs. So any disruptions in sleep, whether someone is oversleeping, because it could be an indication of a thyroid problem, or it could be an indication of depression or social isolation or anything, or spending more time than usual in your room. So any disruptions to sleep, whether it's oversleeping or not sleeping, any disruptions in your energy levels, like someone who has zero energy, everything, they're lethargic, they're having a very hard time getting out of bed, or even saying, I don't feel well. Like I would just, during COVID times, I would say like, explore, and assess. It's always better to err on the side of over assessing and over protecting, instead of to just say, yeah, I feel tired too. So because it could mean something deeper. So any sleep disruptions, changes in energy levels, any changes in eating habits, whether it's overeating or undereating or skipping meals, changes in weight, eating related behaviors like binging, purging, hiding your food, skipping meals, any changes in your social activity, like, not wanting to socialize, not wanting to see other people, procrastination, decline in academic performance, definitely suicidal or death related thoughts. We worry about death. Maybe someone close to us has died. But we always want to see, what is this bringing up for the person? Is this making them think about their own death or wanting to die? Substance use behaviors, anger, impulsivity issues that were not there before, changes in anyone's appearance or demeanor, not really taking care of their personal hygiene, and any communication really from a person, in terms of like the wellness team as well as me, needs to be explored. And it's not necessarily something critical or clinical, but it's something that you want to, assess or ask more questions about.
Thank you. First of all, luckily with the vaccines, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But some of us still feel anxious and worried about the unknown. What advice would you give us to prepare to the future? Because we don't know what will happen like till now.
I think there's always been uncertainty in life. Like, I think COVID just highlighted how much uncertainty there is. And the good part of it is that people really want to be more present nowadays. We want to tell the people that we love them. We don't want to sleep with the conflict with our partners or with our loved ones. But I think uncertainty is part of life. So it is something to be accepted and to be embraced. One of the things that I would highly recommend people to practice is control what you can, because there's COVID really taught us that there's so much that we can do, and if bad things were to happen, they will happen, even if we've done everything. So the other element is accepting the uncertainty, that it will always be a part of our life, and just to make the best of the moment, to really try to be present, to try to enjoy every moment, that's the only moment we have.
What I can add is also, as sometimes you can't really control these ideas, and it's okay. Be aware of negative thoughts, but don't beat yourself up about it. Bring your thinking more to a line of facts. It's very important to seek out information from reliable resources or sources, because the situation is unknown, because a lot of students are seeking information from wrong sources, and that basically intensifies the anxiety. So always, acknowledge that it's okay to be concerned, and acknowledge the bad thoughts, but do something about your well-being also when you have that.
Can I give permission to teenagers, since we're mainly talking about students and teenager? You're at the tricky age where you're not a child, but not yet an adult. But when life is so hard, just like now, it's okay to allow the adults and caregivers in your life to take care of you. You don't have to figure out things that barely adults can figure out these days. Give yourself room to tap into the child that is still in you. Even for seniors who might be watching this and are maybe worried a bit because next year look different in terms of the care received, you are still part of a community and a university. Check what support is available, because next year might have its own hardship as well. And on this note, I want to really thank the committee behind the symposium this year to have allocated actually the first session to kickstart the process about wellness and the hardship, but also about coping.
Thank you all for your time and your valuable information, and I hope to meet you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lian.
Thank you. Bye.